Hi, I'm Ashley.
And I'm Andrea. And welcome to Two Therapists and a Cocktail, keeping it
You're
real.
real. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How are you today, girl?
I'm doing good. It's been a week. I was sick
Yeah.
with a cold, but I'm feeling so much better now.
Are
So
you?
much better.
I'm
Yeah,
glad. I'm glad. What did
yeah,
you take for your cold? Because I've been trying to fight one. I felt it like it was
yeah,
coming. And I was like,
yeah.
I'm going to block it.
I believe Mucinex. I took some Mucinex, and then I had this cold and flu tea that I got like a long time ago. And every time I feel a cold coming, I just drink that tea, and I feel so much better.
Well,
Yeah,
there
I
we
love my
go.
teas and honey. Oh yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. What does your shirt say?
It says empowered women empower women because that's what we do.
Yes, that
That's
is
what we
what we
should
do.
do, right?
So, yes, yes, that is what we should be doing. Which
Yes.
is a perfect segue. What is the
Yes.
title of our podcast today,
The title of our podcast is It's Not Them, It's You. Are you ready to shed?
baby? And I am so glad that
Yeah.
we decided to do this because
Yeah.
I was thinking, and a lot of times I talk to my friends and I say, "Do you realize that you are raggedy?" And I say that in love.
Not
And I
raggedy.
say raggedy. And I say that in love. So many times we play the victim and we think it's everybody else except us. But
Yes.
sometimes we need to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I can be
Yeah.
a little raggedy sometimes.
Yes. Yes. Keep it real.
Really
Keep it
real.
real.
And
Yes.
okay, so first question, and I've been trying to like test this out with other people to see what they think.
Yeah.
Can you really be held accountable? Do you like that? Do you like that feeling when people hold you accountable?
You know, I don't think a lot
I
of
don't.
people have issues. I don't either. But you need accountability when somebody points it out.
Yes.
Sometimes you don't realize that your
Yes.
behavior, the things that you're doing, the things that you're saying, that it can impact people.
Yes. Yes.
And sometimes
And
it takes
yeah.
somebody saying, hey, hold on a minute. This is what you're doing. Sometimes you need
Pump the
somebody to spell it
brakes.
out.
Yes, you do. And that kind of goes into like this question of like, can we accept the truth other people have to say about us? Because we
Mm,
are often thinking that we are living this life and that we are presenting ourselves one way to certain people. And they're like,
yeah,
actually, you're not like that at all. And
right,
so when people share their experience of you, are you really ready to listen to that? And I think if we
right,
really dig deep into that, most of us aren't.
right.
We can dish it, but we can't take
Can't
it.
take it. Right,
Mm-mm.
right.
Mm-mm.
We don't like somebody telling us that you're really being shitty. Let's keep it real.
Yes. 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 And you know what? I remember this one time I was in
Yeah,
high school and this girl, she was a very close friend of mine, so I don't even feel like I was that offended when she said it. But
yeah,
my thing is I'm a jokester. I say jokes all the time. I throw shade, I do the whole
yeah,
thing. That's just my thing.
yeah.
And I guess I had rubbed her the wrong way one day and she was like, "You know what your problem is? You
What?
act like your shit don't stink."
Ooh, how
And
did you
I
take
was,
that?
girl, I was taken aback. And I had to really think about it. And I was like, dang, maybe you're right.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm low key kind of judgy. And
yeah.
I think that's what you have to think about. Like, when you're thinking about your friendships, like, can your
Yeah,
friends say these things to you? And one,
right,
take a step back, like, dang, you had to say it like that. But then it
right.
makes you think, like,
Yeah,
maybe I am kind of
yeah,
kind of janky. Maybe I need to fix that. And I think that's
yeah,
all about like this shedding concept that we're talking about. Like, are you ready to shed?
yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the question.
Yeah.
What does it mean to shed? What do you think it means to shed? What do y'all think it means to shed?
I think it really, because when you're saying shed, I kind of think of like a snake. And it's not about like you changing who you are on the inside. It's
Yeah.
about like letting like some of those layers of just the nonsense, things that don't serve you anymore. Let
Yeah.
that go. A lot of
Yeah.
times, like, I think people have like these tough exteriors, and I'm not going to let anybody like get close to me or know my heart or know that I care
Yeah.
for them, and no one can get to me. But
Yeah.
sometimes you have to let that stuff go because it don't serve you no more.
Right. And
Yeah.
it when I hear the word shedding, it reminds me of that song by Erica Badu, Bag Lady.
Come on.
If you don't shed the things that are not serving you anymore, the things that are
Yeah.
not helping you to grow, you're going to
Yeah.
continue to hold on to these bags that are going to hold you back in every area of your life. Relationships, romantic, family
Yeah.
relationships, friendships, maybe even at work. So
Yeah.
if you don't get yourself in check, it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
And so I think
And
that
yeah.
that goes back to what you were saying about accountability. It's so easy to tell somebody about themselves, but what about you? Do you check yourself? Do you do your
And
self-reflection?
probably not.
Right.
Probably not. And I
Right.
think, when you said like you might have to like shed some friendships, shed some relationships, I think sometimes it's a little bit bigger than that. And I think
Yeah.
we can say to ourselves, oh, if I get rid of this man, if I get rid of this friend, and blah, blah, blah. How about get rid of the way that you engage in these relationships? Maybe that's the problem. And I think
Right.
that's our overall theme on this podcast. It's
Right.
not them, it's you. It's how
Right.
you are engaging in these relationships.
That's
Maybe
right.
it's not the relationship's problem. Maybe
Yeah.
you allow them to talk to you crazy. You
Right.
talk to them crazy. And now it's a toxic environment. So maybe
Right.
you need to change your engagement in each of those things. Like
Yeah.
when people are like, oh my gosh, I got passed over for a job. Well, you just prepped for the interview an hour before the job interview. Like, you have
Right.
to stop blaming everybody else for what's going on
Yeah.
in your life. Take
Yeah.
some accountability and start welcoming people into your life that can hold you accountable.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it hard for people to take it. Because
Yeah.
then that would mean you looking yourself in the mirror and you saying, you know what? Yes, I was in this relationship and yes, it was toxic, but what was my part in it?
Hello.
Did I have boundaries? Did I verbalize that that's probably not the way I wanted to be spoken to? You know?
Yeah.
Some people like toxicity.
Love it. Be like, oh yeah, I cussed my man out, and then he came over and choked me by the neck, and then we had a good makeup time. Like, ma'am, that is, whoa, that's a lot. That's
It is
a
a
lot.
lot. It is
That's
a lot.
a lot.
They want
Yeah.
that baby boy love.
Baby,
Listen.
and pass me by with that. I don't want that. Don't you
Right.
cuss at me.
Right.
Okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you're thinking about like this shedding, like you said, some people like that toxicity. So if you shed, do you become your authentic self? And are people afraid of becoming their authentic self?
Yeah. I think people are scared to be their authentic selves because it's foreign. And anything that's foreign terrifies you. There's a level of fear. Like I've heard people say, "Well, I've always wanted to maybe do a marathon. I've always wanted to do a marathon." But that fear seeps in. That negative talk seeps in. And now you're not doing the thing that you always wanted to do. So it sounds like we need to shed that negative thinking. We need to shed that fear that seems to keep coming into everything that you desire or dream about. It sounds like that needs to be worked on. And
Yeah.
once you shed that, you can be your authentic self. You can even be your higher self, the best version of yourself. But a lot of people are scared of that. They're terrified.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think that if more people became their authentic self, they might find that the people who they roll with don't like that version of them
Right.
at all. And
Right.
then it's like, oh my gosh, I've created this persona. Like, I'm the person who makes everybody laugh. I'm the person who is like always there. But if deep down they're like, I am super insecure. Like, I'm
Right.
doing all this because I want friends so badly. Like, I'll
Yeah.
do anything to keep a friend. But they're thinking like, well, I do want to ask them to show up for me. But the second like you start asking people and you start shifting them expectations, people get really uncomfortable. And so there's so much of a risk that comes when you don't have these authentic relationships from the jump.
Right. Right. And let's keep it real as we always do. You have some people that are in your life that would prefer you to stay where you are. Let's keep it real. They would
I'm going to insert the
rather
clapping for that one.
they would rather you not be the best version of yourself because one, they could
Yep.
take advantage, they could do whatever they want to you because you don't have any boundaries.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the cycle just continues. It just continues.
Yeah.
And to me, shedding is the real new year, new me.
Yes.
Because it's you doing the work. People always say that, new year, new me. But what does that entail? Because you said that at the
Yeah.
beginning of 2022. It's 2023 and you still the same person. So isn't that telling
still
you
the same.
that we need to start shedding? We need to start working
Yeah.
on some things, healing on some
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like we always end up saying this in like our podcast, like why not now? Like what are you waiting for? Like what are you waiting for? Like life is passing you by and you're still in these relationships that don't serve you. You are still remaining silent on certain issues that bother you. And walk into yourself. I think a lot of times like we end up being in the shadows of our lives. And we're just watching ourselves participate in these things. And we're just like, well, okay. This makes everybody else happy. So I guess I should be happy, right? Because everybody else around me is fine. Maybe.
Yeah.
And then I think you go through a phase of you're confused. Like, is this me? Is this what I want? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Everything is fine. I got the house. I got the job. I got the car. I got everything. I have friends that I could call. Friends that I can call. Everyone knows I'm fine.
Right.
But maybe that's not who you are. Maybe you're actually bored.
Right.
And I think sometimes people are afraid to say that because they're like, but I have so many things to be grateful for. Okay. And not to say that's like, oh my gosh, you shouldn't be grateful. But maybe it doesn't serve you. Maybe what you're doing isn't meaningful to you.
Right. Right. And to add to that, you could have, as we know it, we've seen it, Andrea. You could have all the money in the world, everything, but that doesn't mean you're happy.
No.
You're so busy making everybody else happy. Yeah, you're able to pay your bills. Yes, you have a roof over your head, but that doesn't mean that you're a happy individual. Because if that was the case, we wouldn't see so many so many people unaliving themselves.
Yeah.
Clearly something is wrong. Clearly they're not happy. Because things alone is not keeping these people alive. Their family, their loved ones, it's not enough to keep them alive.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is all all to say why it's so important that you start living your authentic life. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't want to participate in something, say that. If you don't
Yeah.
want to be a part of a certain friendship anymore, say that, or make the
Right.
boundary so that people can read the room and realize you don't want to participate in that anymore. And it's
Right.
not about burning somebody. It's not about like being rude or being nasty, because like I feel like we have said this, you don't have to stop a friendship or stop a relationship in a nasty way.
Right.
Some things just stop. And that's
Yeah.
okay. Because I guarantee this. Unless the person that you're in a friendship or a relationship in is a complete narcissist, they know when a connection is off. And I think this happens a lot with people who've been friends for years. You notice
Yes.
all of the things that change in your friendships over the years, life experiences that influences you, different relationships that you go in and out of while still maintaining that friendship. Your friend has seen you change. And so at one point it's like you either changing with them or you're changing separately.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so somebody got to take the
sometimes-
first step.
Right, right. And sometimes a part of shedding means growing away from certain people, whether that's friendships or even family members. Sometimes we grow out of that. We grow out of the environment and the culture that has been developed. Because now you're on your own and you realize, all this time, I didn't really agree with the way my family did things. Or I didn't really agree with the way this friend did things. Or this partner of mine, how they do things.
Yeah.
And it's time to do something different.
Yeah. And I think sometimes like people think, oh, if I break up with them or if I stop talking to like this family member, like we'll never talk again. There are so many people who stop talking to their friends and years go by, but then something brings you back together and you're like, I'm glad we both did some growing up, because now we can have a better friendship, a better relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes your shedding is forcing you to grow up.
Right. Without those people.
That part.
That might
Because
just be a part of the
we
process.
can talk about how somebody's because sometimes the people who you around stunt your growth.
That part. That part. And then it's hard for you to be who you really are supposed to be. You know? So at the time, yes, it hurts when you have to separate yourself from people or shed yourself away from people. But
Yeah.
that's the process that you have to go through.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not it's not everyone you're going to grow with.
Yeah. And can we also talk about how sometimes you stunt people's growth?
Uh,
Okay.
Right.
So let me say this. Let me say this.
Yeah.
So I say that because sometimes we enable people because we love them, because we see their potential.
Yeah.
But here's the problem with seeing somebody's potential. You might be working against that plan because you enable them.
Right.
And you're like, oh my gosh, I know that they are going to just do so many great things. Then why you keep doing their homework?
Right.
Stop that.
Right.
Why do you keep excusing when they don't follow through on things? How are they going to make it?
Right.
They not.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is right. Yeah.
And sometimes you have to force people to shed you.
That is so true. That is
You
so
got to
true.
stop.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got to stop. Yeah.
It's a journey that sometimes you have to do on your own. You have
How-
to do on your own. Yeah.
Yeah. When you think about like just a journey that you've had to do on your own, like a relationship or just even career wise, when you were like, you know what, I have to make a change in order to shed, in order to really push me ahead to do what I need to do. What comes up for you?
I think the first thing that comes up for me is when I started my private practice. I was tired of being under, I was tired of being under other people that didn't treat me and didn't pay me what I deserved. So I had to make a decision. Do you continue to work for people that are not going to treat you well, that are not going to pay you what you deserve? I mean, all these degrees, or are you going to do your own thing? And I was terrified. I was terrified. I even had a mentor at the time. She had she still has her own private practice, and she was like giving me tips on how to do it, but I had to still figure it out. I had to do my own research, think about what I wanted to name it, how to get it registered, how to think about starting to get clients and being on different insurance panels. I had to do that work. She couldn't do that for me.
Yeah.
And then when the pandemic hit, I was like, oh, this is going to be different. How do we see people? Like, how do we do that? And we're not in an office because we can't be in the same area, the same vicinity. Yeah. And I was so scared. And I remember my mentor was like, just do it. Yeah. What's the worst that could happen? I was like, but what if I don't get anybody? And then one day I heard God said, build it and they will come.
Come on.
I just kept on hearing that 3 times.
Come on.
Build it and they will come. Not necessarily a building, but do the private practice. They will come. Yeah. What you tripping for?
Yeah.
And I did it.
Everybody need help.
Right. I did it, and that was the best decision I ever made because I realized what my worth was. Yes. If I kept on staying where I was, I don't think I would be happy. But sometimes it takes you going through a challenge for you to realize what your worth is. Yes. And that you need to shed certain agencies, bosses, supervisors, people, in order for you to get to where you need to be. So anytime I feel this sense of, man, I'm scared, I don't know if I want to, I feel like that's my intuition saying, you need to do it anyway. Yeah. Because once you do it, you get to the other side. And even if you fall, and I think that part, people are scared of falling. They're scared to fail. But a part of growth is failing, is falling, flat on your face. Yeah. You might fall, but guess what? You could learn to crawl again. You could learn to walk again, and then you learn how to run again. Yeah. So why not? That's what life is about. Yeah. Living and learning and experiencing.
Yeah. I love that. And I'm glad that you were able to see the value in yourself for yourself. Because I think that's why we often get trapped in some of the situations that we're in, or relationships or careers, because we are always looking for affirmation for other people. Just like if we land a big case or if we do a really big project at work, we're looking for someone to be like, oh, that was amazing. That was great. But sometimes you're not going to get that. And then when you do get it, it don't even really be feeling that good.
Right.
If we're honest, because nobody is going to hype you up better than you.
That's true.
Nobody in this whole world, maybe as a close second, your mama, or somebody who been riding for you since the beginning. Right. Yeah. But nobody is really going to hype you up or see your value in the way that you can. Because nobody's in your head, nobody's in your soul, nobody knows your deepest, darkest secrets like that. So you know what you need. And I think a lot of people are taking those leaps to explore better mental health, to
Oh, yeah.
explore better self-care, because I know a lot of people be like, "Ooh, I need a self-care day. I ain't even sick, but I'm sick. I
Yes.
need a day." And
Yes.
man, and
Yes.
I think we all need that at this point, because I was talking to some people earlier this week, and everyone was just talking about how tired they are. And that really
Yeah.
made me think, like, are we just tired from being in relationships that don't serve us? Being in
Ooh.
spaces that don't serve us? Is this why we're exhausted?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we at some point you have to start looking at, what are you fueling yourself with? Are you fueling yourself with people who always got some drama?
Right.
Like, I listen, I love
Yeah.
tea. But baby, I'm not trying to have tea every day. Like,
Right.
my
And not at your
Lord.
workplace either. Drama at the
Man,
workplace
man,
causes stress, burnout.
man, man. Like, sometimes you
Yeah.
want good news.
Yeah.
Like, you need it. Like, that's what
Yes.
makes you feel good. And if you're constantly subscribing to all of these negative things, guess how you gonna feel? Negative, exhausted,
Exactly.
tired. You
Exactly.
gonna feel it in your body, like you're always saying. And you
Yes.
have to start paying attention to those things. Start shedding some of
Yeah.
those things. And
Yeah.
will people maybe look at you crazy, like, "Oh, okay, I see you acting brand new." Let that, dust that
Okay.
off your shoulder and keep it moving.
Right.
Uh, okay.
If it takes you seeing me as acting brand new because I'm deciding to make a change and shed things out of my life, then I'm okay with that, because that's your perception. That doesn't mean it has to be mine, and it doesn't mean I have to attach to it. But anything that's negative energy,
Yeah.
you know how that feel. You know it doesn't
Yeah.
feel good. So why even continue to be around that?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
especially if you have negative energy not at work, just at work, but you have negative energy at home. Your home should be a place of peace, your sanctuary. It should be calm. If you just came from work where it's chaotic and now you're at home and that's chaotic too, honey, you need to make some changes.
You need to do something. And soon. And
And
soon.
fast.
Please. Because
Yes.
you will run out of places to be. And you'll be like, "Oh, gosh, my neck's stiff every time I come into a space." And that's
Yeah.
because your body is trying to tell you, change
Right.
something.
Yes.
And also
Yeah.
advocating for yourself that you need that. You have to think about what you're letting into your life.
Oh yeah.
Because some people will bring you down and just make you just, ugh, yuck
Yes.
on the inside. And sometimes that
Yes.
means not engaging in certain conversations.
That exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know who the people are around you, who you probably you know who you shouldn't be having or continuing a conversation with.
And you know, and I'm not the only one. I'm going to out myself right now. I am not the only one on this planet that looks at certain people on my phone like, "Nope,
Not today.
not today. Not today." There
Not
are
doing it.
certain people. There are certain people you can see their name and you like, "I already know.
I
I
ain't
already
got the
know."
energy. I don't have the mental, emotional, and energy. I don't have the mental, emotional capacity to handle
Exactly.
this person today.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you okay, so since you said that, is it rude
Yeah.
to tell your friend that? Is that being your authentic self, or is that just rude?
You know what? I think that's being your authentic self. But there's a way to say that though, Andrea.
Okay.
Don't
Okay.
be
How do you
don't
say it? How do
listen,
you
y'all.
say it?
Don't be like, "Ooh, why you calling me again? Gosh, I'm sick of you." That's not how you handle that. How you handle it is, "Listen, I love you, I care about you, but today I don't have the mental and emotional capacity to
Yeah.
handle it. Maybe
Yeah.
another day, maybe 2 or 3 days, maybe even 5. But today,
7.
I can't. I don't have
Yeah.
it because I'm going through my
Yeah.
own stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe this is it. Maybe this is the thing. Before you divulge to people, y'all, ask them, "Hey, is this a good time to talk?" That would be
Thank you.
respectful. What's disrespectful
Please.
is you get on the phone, like, for example, me and you, Andrew, you get on the phone. Hey, Andrea, girl, I'm so sick of him. You didn't even ask Andrea how she felt today or how
Ah.
she's doing today.
Hello. Yes.
And immediately you just giving
Jump
it all.
on in there. Jump on
Right.
in there.
Right.
And some people aren't ready for that. And
Right.
you know your friends. Some friends aren't even going to tell you. That baby could be crying on the other end, trying to just think about what happened in their day. And you over here talking about the same issue that you've been talking about for months.
Yes.
I thought we reached a conclusion months ago. Okay, so that's another thing. Like, when we think about accountability, how do we, because I'm kind of like teeter-tottering on this, like, dish it, or you can dish it, but you can't take it, right? And so I think a lot of times when we give advice to our friends, we just expect them to do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we low-key hold them accountable with our judgments. And that's not cool.
Yeah.
And so, how do you want your friends to hold you accountable without being judgmental?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That is a really good question. How I want my friends to keep me accountable? Just tell me, hey,
Yeah.
we had a conversation the other day. You said you wanted to lose weight and go to the gym. It's January 6th, boo. Have you been to the gym? What's going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah.
Let me know
Yeah.
what's going on. But you don't have to
Yeah.
be disrespectful about it. Like,
Yeah.
you damn heifer. You ain't been to the
Yeah.
gym. It's January 6th. The hell wrong with
Exactly.
you?
Right. And there are some friends that
Yeah.
you can trust to hold you accountable. Cause some of them will be like, heifer, girl, get up. And some will actually be like, but no, what is the problem? Why you ain't
Yeah.
made it to the gym? Are you just
Yeah.
not able to like get it together? And that's another thing that I also really want to point out. I think sometimes we make light of accountability and we make it jokey because we're really nervous about being firm on people. So we make it a joke so that our delivery can be easily digested. And so we're like, girl, I know you was going to get to the gym though. No.
Yeah.
It needs to be,
Yeah.
but for real, why haven't
Yeah.
you gotten to the gym? Like you talked
Yeah.
about that you wanted to be healthier for yourself. And that can also make your relationship with somebody transform.
It
Because
can.
then you're trying to connect authentically.
Right.
And you're not living on this surface level anymore. Like, I think it's extremely frustrating when you're at a space where you want to connect deeply with somebody and they're always making a joke about it.
Right.
And I'm not sure like what stage like our viewers are in, but if you have an opportunity to build an authentic relationship with a friend, do that now. Like, don't
Yes.
wait till you're older. Like, don't
Right.
talk about what's really going on with you.
Right.
Several years ago, somebody pointed out to me, don't ask people how they are unless you really care. Don't ask that question because it implies that you care.
Right.
And so I would even implore everybody to take on that principle. Don't ask somebody that question unless you really care. And don't settle for I'm good. What's that mean?
What does
What's that mean
Yeah.
you're good? Or what's
Yeah.
that mean you're fine? What does that mean for you?
Yeah. Or I've heard people be like, yeah, what does that mean? That sound. What
Yeah.
does that mean?
Meh.
But you know what I think the
Because
problem
meh
is?
can be a lot of things.
It can be. But you know what I think it is? A lot of people, they do that when they're not tapped into their emotions.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even know how to
Yeah.
identify how they really feel. They haven't really taken the time to really sit down and say, how did I really feel today?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
person said this. How did that make me feel today?
Mm-hmm.
Some people,
Yeah.
whatever happens, and it's like they move along.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then when you ask, hey, how are you doing? Well, I don't know. How do you
Yeah.
not know?
Yeah.
You are living, breathing in this body, and you don't even know what's going on in here.
But you
That's
know
a
what that
problem.
goes back to? That
Yeah.
goes back to being in the shadow of your life.
Mm,
Of course you don't know how you're doing. Because you're
yeah.
watching yourself go through the motions of everything. And
Yeah.
you're not deciding, you know what, I'm going to move out of the shadows and I'm going to come into my being.
Yeah. You're just
Like
existing.
you are just existing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And there is nothing wrong with having uncomfortable emotions. Like
Right.
I was watching this video with my daughter this morning, and it was like the if you're happy and you know it song. But then
Yeah.
I turned around and then it was like if you're angry and you know it. And I was like, when did we introduce all the emotions? I didn't know we was
good.
doing that. But
That's
I
good.
like that because sometimes you are not happy.
Right.
Sometimes you are angry. And
Right.
it is very irritating when somebody is angry or sad. And something that someone says is, hope you feel better or cheer up, pal.
Yeah.
Can we address one, why I'm feeling this way? And two, that it's okay for me to sit in this right now.
Yeah. But I think
It's
people are
fine.
scared
Yeah.
of that. People are scared of sitting with your emotions, sitting with your thoughts. They're scared of
Yeah.
that, especially if from a child they weren't offered an opportunity to learn that. The minute you get, especially the black community, we're going to have to call it out and keep it real. The minute you get upset, what some mamas say, oh, you angry?
Oh, you
I'ma
mad? What you got to be? I'll give you something to be mad
What you
about.
mad about? Or I give you something to cry about, instead of asking, okay, I see that you're visibly upset. What's going on?
What's up?
Why are you upset?
Yeah.
That's from a young age. You are teaching your children, one, how to identify their emotions, and two, how to regulate and manage them. So now, because it's, oh, you mad or you crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about. Now you're a grown adult and you don't even know
Yeah.
how to manage that. Now
That
when
part.
you're angry, is you're so out of control, now you're punching people in the face. Now you're breaking property, people's property,
Yeah.
or your own property.
Yeah.
Because now you don't know how to manage that.
You know how to manage nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
And like oftentimes like in therapeutic spaces we talk about this thing called the angry iceberg, and we talk about anger being at the top of this iceberg and all of these other emotions that actually exist underneath the surface. And so when we dig into that, we find sadness, we find embarrassment, we find all of these other things.
Yeah.
And if people actually sit with this big overhanging emotion, they will find that they actually feel a lot differently. They're not really angry. They're sad about it. And that's why it's so important to sit with yourself at the end of the day and say, okay,
Yeah.
what are some of the things that happened with me today? How do I feel about this? How should I have navigated this? Did I navigate it in a way that I liked? Okay, so now I'm mad at myself. Am I really mad at myself? Oh, I'm not mad at myself. I'm embarrassed. And so it's so important that you do this work, because then you can show other people how to navigate life with you.
Right. And you show your children, y'all. See, this is the
Yes.
thing. We are our children's first role model. So if you don't even know how to manage your emotions, how you expect them to do it? You're teaching them knowingly or unknowingly. So it starts with you.
Yeah,
know?
it has to. It
Yeah.
has to. And so, I guess for our viewers to kind of follow these tidbits that we want them to take, when they're thinking about like shedding, what would you say is like the most important thing for them to do as like this first step? This is what you do if you want to start this shedding process.
I think the first step is to acknowledge that shedding needs to take place.
Yeah.
So if you know that you have issues with trusting, issues with managing your emotions, start there.
Yeah.
Because once you start peeling that onion back, you realize there's a whole lot of layers that needs to be shed. You know. So I think
Yeah.
starting there, you acknowledging it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think another thing to also consider is that everybody else can't be the problem.
Yeah.
Even if you haven't found that person that can hold you accountable in a way that you feel comfortable,
Yeah.
you can take responsibility.
Right.
That's the first thing that you can do that requires assistance from nobody else. You can take responsibility for how you have gotten into different things in your life.
Oh yeah.
And so I wouldn't like go through a list of people in my head like I'm going to cut them off and I'm going to cut them off and I'm going to cut them off and then you can't break my soul, so I'm going to quit my job. No. Okay? Like you need to take a step back.
Right.
And you need to think about you. What are you doing? What are you doing specifically? And maybe how can you change the way that you engage with people, engage at your job, engage with your family, all of those things. And then begin to shed back in that way. Like, I'm going to shed a negative attitude. Maybe the reason why people are comfortable coming to you with negativity is because you're negative.
Right.
Maybe that's the problem. You need to shed that negative mindset. Maybe people pour and maybe not even pour. Maybe they take and take and take from you because you present yourself as this ultimate pourer.
Right.
So you need to shed that persona off as well. So that would be what I would suggest doing. Like, look at where you are in the present moment. Don't pay attention to this huge staircase of things that you want to be able to accomplish. Focus on this step right in front of you.
Right.
And think about what can I do on this step right here.
Yeah.
And
maybe
go from
even
there.
and maybe even look at how much of my past is affecting who I am today. Maybe that's where we need to start. Looking at your past, looking at your childhood. How did
Yeah.
your parents raise you, or whoever raised you?
Yeah.
How was
Yeah.
that? And how does
Yeah.
what did you learn from that?
Yeah.
What did
Yeah.
you learn? What are the things that you've learned that you're still doing today?
Yeah.
Because maybe that needs to be shed.
Yeah. Because some of us are still believing that the people who hurt us in our past still have control over our lives. Like, well, you know, my 5th grade teacher always told me I was dumb, so that's why I can't get a job. Sir, you are 45.
Yeah.
It's about time. Move on. I think your 5th grade teacher might be RIP.
Yeah.
I think she might be resting. So you need to rest that mentality as well. Let that die with her. And you have got to stop living as if the past is a fortune teller. Like, oh, this thing happened to me, so it has to come to pass. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
You can decide what you do in your present.
Yeah. Your
So either-
present determines your future. What
Hello.
you do right now, not your past.
Yeah. Now you
It
can
doesn't-
learn from your past, but it is not your compass.
Right.
Doesn't get to decide for you. You get to decide for you what you do.
Right. Right. And we've seen that. Like,
Yeah.
if we use Oprah as an example, Oprah was raised
Yes.
in a poor household. Oprah was even sexually assaulted by a family member. Look at Oprah today. She did not allow her past to have power over her future.
Yeah.
Or her present
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
She took the power back. And so
She did.
if she can take the power back, then why can't you? You can take the power back too. You
Hello.
can take your power back.
Yeah. And you don't
But it
need, and
starts
you don't
with
need
shedding.
$1 million.
You
Yeah.
don't need a million, right? You don't need to be a millionaire, billionaire to do it.
No.
But
You
it
just
starts
need
with
you.
you. Right. You just need
Yeah.
you, and you might need a therapist too to help you through it. Because sometimes we try to do it on our own, and that's good.
Yeah.
But you might
Take that
need
step.
somebody extra, a professional, to say, "Hey, you ever thought about looking at it this way?"
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And there is nothing wrong with that. And I hope, like, through our podcast, like, we have at least started something for you guys to realize there are down to earth therapists.
Yes,
in this
we are
world.
human. We are human beings.
We are human.
What you think of that? What you thought of that?
Yeah.
We are human
Yeah.
beings.
Yeah. And so you can talk just like yourself, be your authentic self, show up for you. And you can absolutely do that in a therapy room. Yeah. But as always, y'all, take care of yourself. Ashley's gonna read all of them hotline numbers that she be having, cause you know your girl don't never be having the hotline numbers.
Well, first, let me say this, right? Now, after listening to this podcast, I really want you to think about our call to action question.
Yeah.
And that is, what are you going to do differently than you did last year?
Please do something different.
And you don't always have to wait for it to be a new year to be a better version of yourself or start shedding. You could have started shedding from June of last year.
Yeah.
But considering that it's a new year and we're always saying, "Oh, new year, new me," let's start shedding today. Let's
Yes.
start doing that.
Today.
It is time to
Yeah.
start shedding. You
And
know?
please. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So, if you ever feel like you need to reach out to us, please contact us through our Instagram at twotherapistpod, or even email us at twotherapistpod@gmail.com. And we're also on YouTube, y'all, so you can find our videos on YouTube. Please follow, subscribe, share.
Tell your friends. Tell your therapist. Yeah.
Yes. And if you ever feel like, you know, life is just too hard to handle and you don't want to do it anymore, call 911, y'all. Your life is precious. You may not feel that way, but we're telling you now, life is precious. Your life is precious. And whatever it is you're going through right now, you can get through it.
Yes.
You can do it.
Yes. Yes, you
Yeah.
can. Yes, you can. Well, y'all, as always, take care. Take care of
Yes.
yourself mentally, emotionally, financially, physically.
Yes.
And then we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.